Today, for this video, I'm going to be doing something a little different. I will mute myself during the actual benchmark, but we're going to be playing Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, but with the super sampling on 8 and the anti-aliasing all the way off. Now, if I were to go the other way around and turn the super sampling off, or at least on 2, which is what I recommend, and the anti-aliasing on its max, I'm just at the dedicated video memory. I'm using all my 6 gigabytes, not going over though. So, yeah, we're going to be doing, again, it's going to be the opposite today, and we're going to be doing it at 8. And this is why I recommend running the anti-aliasing instead of the super sampling, just because this game just runs much better with anti-aliasing up. I do believe the image looks better. With that said, I'm going to mute myself, and enjoy the benchmark.
Keep it tight, people. Ready weapons. Move up. Got a visual battle Ryzen. Free to engage. Suppressed weapons only. We're clear. Civilian hostages at your position. Watch your fire. Roger that. Team 1 moving to breach. Clear. We're clear. Hostages secured in Section 2 Echo. Roger that, Hotel 6. Team 2 will secure an evac. Get topside and find the rest of the civvies. Okay, move upstairs. Control, we're advancing to Deck 2. Eyes open. Watch your sectors. Enemy helo patrolling the perimeter. Keep a low profile, Hotel 6. Roger that. Enemy helo, get out of sight. Move. Hotel 6, more hostages are at your position. Copy that. Clear. Control, all Deck 2 hostages secured.
Группа 5, прием! Ответьте базе! Мать, ты там? Ответь базе! Мы слаем группу вниз.
Enemy radio. I think we're gonna have company, sir. Set up a plan B. Get some C4 on those bodies. Go.
Группа 5, ответьте базе! Прием! Повторяю, группа 5.
C4 place, sir. Get to an elevated position. We'll ambush them when they discover the bodies. There's a patrol. Hold your fire until they're closer. Stand by. Stand by. Plan B. Do it. Control. Hotel 6. Our cover's blown. Intel still indicates hostages and explosives on the top deck. Your team needs to secure that location before we can send in reinforcements to handle the SAM sites. Roger that. Controlling for Exfil and LZ Bravo. Same company needs to take the top deck ASAP so they can send in the Marines. Move. Ghost. Target at 12 o'clock. Move. Roach, take him out. Break out. Got a man down. Hotel 6, hostages from lower decks are being extracted by Team 2. Proceed to the top deck ASAP to secure the rest. Over.
Copy that. We're working on it. Out.
Come check it out. I have a target. Attack Kelly! Overcome! Find the cover! Take it down! Taylor, take cover! Contact northwest. Take it down. Contact 12 o'clock. Yeah, I see him.
Find some heavy ordnance to take down that board. Split up. We can flank through these hallways.
Ghost. I've got eyes on target. Go down.
We're getting shredded by the chopper. Look for some RPGs or rockets and take it down.
Hostile spotted by the long red dome. Nice work.
The clock's ticking. We need to get topside and secure any remaining hostages before we call in the Marines.
Tango to that long red dumpster. I got eyes on target. Stacked up ammo crate. I got eyes on target. Take him down. Tango down.
Let's go. Those hostages aren't going to rescue themselves. Move up. They're popping smoke. You guys have now more optics. Stay clear of the smoke.
Roach. Line up. Be advised, hostages have been confirmed at your location along with possible explosives. Over.
Copy that. All teams check your fire. We don't know what's behind these doors.
Roach. Hostage spotted by the long red dumpster.
Остальные подавляются на авто. Вражеская пехота прямо впереди! Я его отсюда не вижу! У нас потери! Они атакуют!
secured. I repeat, all hostages secured. Proceeding to LZ Bravo. Over.
Good job, Hotel 6. Marine reinforcements are inserting now to dismantle the SAM sites. Get your team ready for Phase 2 of the operation. Out.
Hunter 2-2, this is Punisher Action.
Actual, go plat secure. All EOD teams are cleared for landing. Roger, Punisher, Hunter 2-2 copies all. Punisher, this is Phoenix 1-1, flight of 2 F-15s en route to grid 257221 for SEAD mission. Requesting sitrep over. Phoenix 1-1, Punisher. Blue sky, I repeat, blue sky. Come to heading 240 and continue on course to target area. Good hunting, over. Punisher at all planes, 4 homes for the section. Stand by for SEAD, over. Solid copy, Chester. Go get him. Good tone, Fox 3, Fox 3. Good kill. Hornet 2-1, you're cleared all the way in. Good luck. Out. Hornet 2-1 copies. 2-2 copies all. 2-3, solid copy. Two going in hot. Roger. Guns. 2-2-2-1. Good effect on target. All snipers, this is McTavish. Stand by to engage. Stabilize. Roger. All snipers, clear to engage. Shift right. Shifted. Stabilize. Ready. On target. Shift right. Shifting. I see 4 hostiles on the next tower. Hang on. Shepard, get those fighters to ceasefire immediately. That was too close. I'll try to buy us some time. One man in a gulag doesn't mean much to the Navy at this point. Bloody Yanks. I thought they were the good guys. Ghost, cut the chatter. Stay frosty. Second wave going in. Stand by. 2-1, touching down at target. D1 is deployed. Go! 5-3 going into overhead pattern to provide sniper cover. Over. 5-3, this is 2-1. Solid copy on all. Two-story building. Target neutralized. Got a visual! 2-1 is in position for gunrun. Copy, 2-1, landing cargo on the second floor. 2-1 copy. Got a tally on 6 tangos. Inbound hunt. Roger. I got a rudder on the roof of the two-story building. Got it. Roger. Take cover. Fire by that low wall. Got a visual. Contact by the low wall. Can't get a shot. He's out of my line of sight. Rocket. Target at 11 o'clock. I got eyes on. Cover me! Copy that. I'm on it.
In this clip right here, I'm actually going to change the anti-aliasing to its maximum and turn the super sampling on 4 as opposed to 2. Just so you can see a bit of the you can see how many frames it would get rid of. Normally in a section like this, I get about like 80 or 90 frames. I'll get a really high frame rate. As you can see here, it's going down to 60. Just an idea of what the super sampling does, or more so how many frames it loses. Again, for a very minimal difference.
Target neutralized.
Ghost, we're in the old tunnel system heading south-southwest.
Okay, keep going along that tunnel.
Talk to me, Ghost. I don't want to be down here when those ships start firing again.
Keep going. You're almost there. I've detected 2 heat signatures. One of them should be prisoner 627.
place. This belongs to you, sir.
Who's so?
Come on, we gotta get out of here! Move, move!
Bravo 6, be advised. They started the bombardment early. Get the hell out of there.
Go, go, go! There's the chopper! Get ready to jump! Go back! Go back! We'll find another way out! This way! This way! It's a dead end! 6-4! Where the hell are you, Homer? I can't see you! I can't see you! Launch it now! Launch! Whatever you're gonna do, son, do it fast!
Bravo 6, I see your flare. Firing on the way.
Let's go! Let's go! Move on! Go, go! Hang on!
So, Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, is a pretty nicely optimized game. Now, in terms of the, super sampling and whatnot, I do honestly believe it is better to, play with, if you have a setup like mine, or maybe a little better, it is better to play with the anti-aliasing all the way up and the super sampling on 2. I've turned on super sampling all the way, or on 8, and turned down the anti-aliasing. The main thing I noticed, you have a slightly clearer image, but that's really about it. And honestly, the frames you lose are not too good if you play it on 8. If you play it with the super sampling on 8 and the anti-aliasing on its lowest, I don't think it's worth the frame upgrade for the, or I don't think it's worth the downgrade of frames for the slightly enhanced image quality. I did play again, or I did play a bit more of it on I did play a bit more with the anti-aliasing on its max and the super sampling on 4 as opposed to 2. That's more down to personal preference. I'd recommend doing that if you have something like a 2060, but a 1660 Super I think is just better to play with. And this goes for things like Advanced Warfare and Modern Warfare as well. But I do think if you have a 1660 Super as opposed to like a 2060, you'd be better playing with the super sampling on 2 and the anti-aliasing on max. And one thing I want to note though also is that the oil rig is one of the more less intensive sections of the game. If you're playing in an area like Brazil, where you have all that stuff to load, I have a feeling it's much more intensive than the oil rig mission I played as well as the Gulag. So I think, if anything, those areas, which again, there's a lot of areas in the game that are just much more frequent and more the areas that are more abundant in general, which is more things in them in general, are also more frequent in the game. Such as a lot of the areas where you're fighting in America, where you're trying to fend off against the Russians. Those have a lot of stuff, and the environments are pretty big. Even if you are going down a rather linear pathway, the environments around you still are pretty big, and those areas I would think are more demanding than the oil rig mission I played. And at times, the oil rig mission and the Gulag mission as well would go down to like 30 frames. I saw it in the main helicopter in the beginning area. When you're on the helicopter, I remember going down to like 29 at one point. The frames go really low. So, again, my recommendation, if you're on a 1660 Super and a Ryzen 5 3600, use the super sampling on 2 and anti-aliasing on the max. If you want to increase the super sampling to 4, you can. It's just down to personal preference, really. I'd rather keep my frames as opposed to a slightly enhanced visual quality. Again, if you're not even gonna really it's a minimal difference with super sampling on 8 and the anti-aliasing on 2. You do have more jagged image with the super sampling on 8, but is clearer. But honestly, again, the amount of frames you lose and the difference it makes is very minimal. I'd recommend just playing it with the anti-aliasing on max, super sampling on 2. That's what I really want to express with this video. If you had a more intensive system like a 3080, you could crank everything all the way up and have the best looking image, but when you have a more moderate PC, you do have to make some workarounds. Everything else you can see has been pumped up to max, and the game looks nice. But there are some slight workarounds you have to make with a moderate PC. Again, a 1660 Super, that's something that I guess like a 2060 is rather moderate as opposed to beast. You know, it's supposed to like a beast hardcore gaming PC, like again you would with 3080. So with that said, that wraps up this benchmark. Yeah, that's just my recommendation on how to run the game.